It's been one whole year since we acquired a mom and pop landscaping business based out of Buford, Georgia, with my amazing partners, Noble and Forrest. We were able to scale the business very well and very nicely, but that ended up causing us a lot of struggles in the process. In our yearly conversation that we've had, we go over a lot of learning lessons, a lot of struggles, a lot of successes at the same time. And I would recommend you guys take notes. And if you find somebody that is looking to buy a business, make sure you share this video and this series to them so they can get an idea of what they're actually about to get themselves into. Now, there's a lot of people out there, a lot of coaches that preach and teach how to buy a business, but I have not seen anything on YouTube where people show and talk about the struggles, the scalability of certain things, and what they're doing currently in their business in order for them to be successful. So I hope you guys enjoy our conversation in our yearly series, and make sure you guys subscribe because we're going to be pumping out more of these behind the curtains talks about our business. Yo, what's up, guys? It's been basically a freaking year that we had Blue Ribbon Landscapers, and I wanted to give everybody that watches our progress and our journey an update of where things are at in our business. So I think a lot of folks wanted to ask and wanted to know, like, how much has the company actually grown in the last year over the course of our ownership? And I know my man Forrest is the man with numbers and spreadsheets, so I would love for him to kind of go over like how much money we actually made, we end the year with, and then the percentage of like the actual growth from what we end up basically acquiring it for. So go ahead, man. What you got, Forrest?
Yeah, as far as the amount that the company grew, as far as a dollar amount, so when we took it over, they're doing just over 400, like 410 or something like that. And we ended up closing the year out a little bit over 900, so like
Yeah.
915, I want to say. So it
Okay.
ended up being about 120% growth year over year.
Yeah.
So a little over doubling.
Yeah, to be precise, I'm looking at the spreadsheet too here. I think you have it at around 935 and $54. So pretty solid projections based on just the numbers and what we end up doing. And I guess to kind of add more context to that dollar amount, what do we end up doing, I guess, drastically for people that didn't watch there are other stuff? Like, what do we do differently to the business? How do we change it to grow it that much?
I mean, a lot of it was just putting marketing things in place. So, like
Yeah.
when we took it over, there was no website, there was no Google My Business, they weren't advertising anywhere for anything. It was all referral based. So we just put in some basics. We put in a CRM. We started generating leads, and then we have an appointment setter who's in there, and his sole job is to call leads within 5 minutes.
Yeah.
So we were able to generate. I think when I tallied it for marketing, we generated about 1,300 leads for the year.
Hmm.
Um, Actually, here, let me pull that up because that's some good info on what we did.
Oh,
Yeah. Oh yeah, I can. Yeah, I can share the screen.
yeah, you can.
Where is it? This one.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you can see we had 13, just under 1,300 leads.
Yep.
This is the total cost, which also includes payroll for the appointment setter and for a
Okay.
marketing assistant or marketing manager. So their payroll is included in marketing costs because I figure that's part of the cost of the marketing. That's not just ad spend. So, but if
Yeah.
we do both of those, then we have a lead cost of $69. We booked 550 appointments. So our booking rate was 42%, which is not too bad. So
Yeah.
all the leads we had, we booked 42%. Our appointment cost was 161. We sent 305 estimates, so our quote rate was 55. And this doesn't um, reflect anyone who rescheduled. So a
Hmm.
reschedule would reduce our quote rate, but it's for the number the data we have, it was the easiest way to do it. We made 116 sales, so our close rate was actually just under 40%, which is solid. And our lead to sale rate is if we had, basically if we had 10 leads, we got one sale
Hmm.
for a $700 CAC.
Nice. That's good. Those are good numbers.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so I'd say the main driver of what pushed the growth was adding the marketing component.
Yeah. and then able to handle that leads that come in, which is obviously what you did best. And you came from a marketing
Hmm.
background, so that definitely helped us with the conversions and then also the growth of the business. And then I'm just going to switch gears here real quick. I know that's all great and all, like, yeah, yeah, yes, for us growing. But what are some of the challenges that we end up facing in that growth process, right? And I know we had a really big crunch towards the end of the year, the slow season, like any other landscaping business, has. It's more of like a seasonal business. But since we're in Buford, Georgia, it's kind of less seasonal due to the weather. But this year has been kind of crazy because of the cold front. So I think our number one issue that we end up having was the cash conversion cycle. And I'll let Forrest speak on that and kind of like what his perspective was and kind of how we were able to handle that, and we can give each other perspectives too as well. So I'll let you jump in, Forrest.
Yeah, I'd say that was definitely the biggest challenge that we were running into is learning to manage the cash flow cycle because it's in the marketing business I was in, it was very straightforward. It was very simple. It's just trading hours, but for time and dollars. But with this, there's a whole element of having materials involved.
Hmm.
And then, so really what the name of the game is how do you bring the money in before you have to pay out for other things? Because if you're going to do like maintenance, for instance, we charge at the end of the month for maintenance. That means that all the labor that goes into doing that is getting paid out already. So we're floating a month of labor all the time because we don't get paid for the customer until we've already paid out like 2 payrolls for
Yeah.
the guys doing the job. Same with like materials, like we weren't putting materials on an account. So we would, do the job. We have to pay for the materials, then we pay for the labor, then we get paid from the customer. So we're basically loaning money out all the time, and we're always negative in cash flow. So first thing we did was start collecting deposits, 50%. That basically covers the materials, and it takes care of all that and some of the labor. And then when we get paid from them, then we can go back and cover the rest of it. The other thing is the materials we have on accounts, like net 30, so that we don't have to pay for the materials until after we've collected from the customer. So then when
Yeah.
we have the deposit, we're holding that money to basically fund, the growth and to try to get ahead because we were behind when we started doing that. We basically are even now, but just managing all the different timings of payment and what's due and when you have to pay out was a lot more of a required involvement than I thought it would be.
Yeah. And because of that, like, I mean, we made a pivot, Noble and I, during one of our meeting calls. Like, we were focused on merger and acquisition, and then I made a suggestion on trying to convert it into something else, like pivot towards doing commercial clients. And I'll let Noble speak on, like, basically his experience on how he was able to kind of pivot from acquisitions to finding commercial clients. So yeah, kind of speak about your experience, Noble, and kind of how you went about that process and what you ended up doing.
Yeah, thank you, Phil. Yeah, so yeah, beyond the acquisition side, we're sales. Overall, we do sales, and so we saw that the company needed some additional help in terms of bringing more volume to the company. So we started exploring different partnerships with custom builders and other avenues to create additional revenue opportunities. So whether that be where we're going to reach out to landscape designers or property management companies for potential HOA opportunities has been more of a focus now. So in terms of our sales, we're using our sales skills and processes and really helping the company out wherever we can.
Yeah, exactly. So I mean, we made a pivot there, and also we ended up calling, I think it was Lincoln's leads too as well, and trying to get some of his leads to convert so that we can up the sales process. And now I know during this cash conversion cycle, I know how much money did you actually invest in the company for us out of your own pocket just to get the company afloat?
How much have I had to put in so far total?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Right around 50,
Okay.
50 so far to put it in. We're putting it in as a loan,
Right.
but yeah, I've got to put in 50 to just cover payroll, various things, growth, equipment, all that stuff.
Yeah. And then furthermore, I also loaned the company like another $14,000 just to keep up with the payments too as well. So all that's going to be a loan towards Forrest and I to be able to manage a company and sustain it during this kind of lull of the business. And that was like one of our main biggest challenge, the cash conversion cycle. For anybody like listening to it, like really be aware of like what Forrest's been telling us, timing of when cash goes out and when cash comes in. Next is, I think, like the employee turnover. We had a couple of sale guy kind of fall through. I don't think anyone particularly stuck. When I mean sales guy, I mean like the person that's going to be going out to our customers, selling our services to them. Like, could you actually kind of speak on that, Forrest, and maybe other issues that involved employment?
Yeah, that's definitely been the toughest one to hire for so far, just because it requires the most skill. We hired one guy and it was a disaster. So we learned
Yeah.
some lessons there on vetting a little more and making sure that they're the right fit before just throwing them in, because we had so many sales appointments that we couldn't get to all of them. So we had all these
Mm.
leads and people we were ready to sell. So we just wanted to get someone in there, and that laziness, and we ended up paying a high price for that.
Yeah.
So that was a big one there that we learned. Um, as far as turnover, it's been decent. I mean, it's an industry where it's not like people are typically there for a super long time.
Yeah.
We've had, lots of a fair amount of people come and go. We usually hire two people and expect one to stick. Basically,
Mhm.
50% of people will stick. But now we have a decent crew. We've had some people with us for a couple months now, who are solid, and we're looking to try to push into like more of a leadership positions.
For the sales position, what were some of the learning? I guess one of the couple of learning lessons from us being lazy versus what we should have done.
Biggest one is like, so I handed off the interviewing process to the GM to hire
Mm.
someone, because he was doing the sales. So I figured, all right, he knows the job. He's going to know who can do the job. Like he'll be able to see that they can do the job. But it's just not his skill set. He's not like as much of a judge of character. He's more just daily operations. It's a different skill set, and I thought that because he had direct experience with the job, that he would be good at determining that. Turns
Mm.
out that that's not the case.
Yeah.
So I should have done the interview myself and been more thorough in that vetting process.
Okay. That makes a lot of sense. Which, I mean, that's
Mhm.
kind of logic if you kind of walk it backwards. Like the GM is basically doing the sales. Figured he would transfer his knowledge and skill set and understand what's needed for the job in order for him to hire the right person for the job, which makes
Right.
a lot of sense. Yeah. I noticed like when we got the business, the equipment, like the trucks, the mower, the blowers, and whatever, were a little bit older than anticipated, and I know that took a large chunk of money to kind of replace. Are there any like bigger learning lessons in regards to scaling that we could kind of convey to people that are listening that may want to buy a mom and pop shop kind of situation like this?
Yeah, I mean, we talked about this before, is that we
Yeah,
did kind of a post mortem on the deal, and I think we all agreed if we were to go back, we probably wouldn't have done this deal the way it was.
yeah,
Mhm.
Our
for sure.
coverage ratio was below what we shoot for today. It was like a 1.8, and we usually want higher than a 2. Like a 2 is the absolute minimum. We want more like a 2.5 or even a 3. And this one was a 1.8. So if this came across our desk today, we probably would have said no. But it was the first one. We all wanted to get into a deal. We wanted to just get some momentum and get some experience. So we did it. We're paying for that lesson too. But
Yeah.
um, the other piece of it was the equipment, where I think, I don't know, at least half of it, maybe more, is out of service. Like both trucks are gone; they don't work. Some of the mowers don't work. The trailer's on its last leg. Like we didn't do a super thorough DD on the actual equipment that was being used,
Hmm.
and that's another piece that we've had to pay for because we've had to buy all new stuff.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I know that was a kind of a pain point for me and Noble too. As we were like, what the f, you know?
Hmm. Yeah,
um,
it's another 5,000 a month in loan payments for all this new equipment.
yeah, exactly. So I mean, it's a good learning lesson for Noble and I and all of us, and people are like actually watching. Like the equipment that we end up buying is basically the asset of the business, more or less,
Yeah, like
outside
what
the
do we
people,
buy?
of course. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
And so that's the what makes the money.
yeah.
Um,
Oh, and
and,
the
and that,
customers weren't the greatest either.
yeah, I was gonna say
So
the
we raised prices, and a lot. We lost probably at least a third of the customers because they're just cheap customers. They're used to this guy. Like I get it because they signed up for this one man band,
Hmm.
but we're not that one man band. So like when you buy the customers, make sure you know like what kind of customers you're actually getting because they
Yeah.
might not be customers for very long.
And that's kind of hard to vet because you can't obviously go to the customers and say, "Hey, we're gonna raise prices. Are you okay with that?" Right? And then you're like, and then if you do that in your due diligence, it's going to disrupt your owner's, the original seller's business, and obviously that's not going to work out for him. So I don't know if Noble or you or Forrest have any, I guess, suggestions on how one would be able to handle that situation. You know?
Well, if you know the market and like what an average price is for that, and you can see how close they are to the price, if they're way under the price, it's they're probably going to be on the cheaper side. But if they're at or above, they're like a premium, then you can say, hey, these are probably good customers. They value value over price. They want a premium service with other things rather than just what's the cheapest possible I can get it.
Yeah. Anything to add to that, Noble?
Yeah, I think just the learning lessons of going into a new market, and like Forrest said, understanding the market that you're in, really, and how the prices should reflect the type of customer that you're looking to acquire.
Right. Yeah, 100%. Um, and then just to kind of give a recap in regards to like what our operations and the investment that we end up putting in the company today. Like I know we started with one employee when we first bought the business. Now, like how big is our team? What's our equipment size now, like front trucks, etc. And then I know we already explained the revenue, but so I guess we can talk about like our team size now, how much equipment, trucks we have, and then what are we projecting to make this year?
Yeah, that was another piece, I guess, that we could tack on with like, would we do this deal again? Is we had one
Yeah.
employee who we ended up having to fire anyway. So we
Yeah.
basically, started from scratch. So the equipment wasn't that good. Yeah, the equipment wasn't that good. The deal arrangement, like debt service to cash flow, wasn't that good. The employee was not that good, and the customers weren't that good. So, like I said, we probably wouldn't have do this gone back, but hey, we've still grown it and made it work to its best
Yeah.
ability.
Yeah.
But you said as far as the operations,
Yeah.
so we're up to 3 foremen. So we're basically at 5 crews now.
Oh,
So
wow.
we have 2 maintenance crews. We had 2 construction crews, and we just added a third with like a roll in, or it's not really a bolt on, so I'd call it like a roll in because we just kind of added absorbed a company that
Yeah.
was another crew, and we'll also have another maintenance that's scheduled to start in 2 weeks.
Okay.
So it'll be 3 maintenance crews and 3 construction crews. So you say a crew's about 2 to 3 guys, so call it I don't know, 6 times 2, so about 15 people
Okay.
on the operation side.
Yeah. And then we have like what, 5 trucks? We're gonna have 5 trucks. We're gonna have 5 different mowers and blowers, and then obviously a bunch of tools for the hardscaping. Right? Do we have any actual heavy equipment by chance? I'm not familiar with that.
Not yet. So we rent a skid steer from the previous owner. That was part of the agreement of how we got it to 0 down, is that he kept that.
Okay.
We just found a place that'll rent it pretty cheap for a month at a time for a skid steer.
Okay.
And then once we get into a little bit busier season, that'll probably be our next major purchase, is some of the heavy equipment and skid steer.
Yeah. Okay. And then what are we looking to shoot for this year as far as revenue, just for this particular Blue Ribbon Landscape?
So I think that if we just did organic, because right now, so when we look at that 900, you got to remember that the first month was 13,000.
Yeah.
And the second month was like 22 or 23,000. And then the third one was like 32 or 36, something like that. So like those first 3 months are kind of out.
Yep.
But if you look at the last 3 months, we were 105, 107, 120.
Mm-hmm.
So our real run rate is more like 1.2, even though we only did 900 in the year because the first 3 months were so low. Our real monthly run rate capacity is closer to 1.2 million. So if we can do 60% instead of 120%, because I think 120 is pretty aggressive, but we wanted to grow that really quickly so we could afford to have management infrastructure and a back office. So we grew really quickly to get to that point, and now we'll probably do a little slower growth, so it's a little more profitable. So if we can do 60 this year, that'll basically take us to 2 million on the organic side. And then I would love for us to add another 2 million on the acquisition side.
Yeah. So that
So a
acquisition,
total of 4.
yeah, 4 million is what we're shooting for.
Mm-hmm.
So we're like basically from the learning lessons of this year or last year, excuse me, we want to make sure that we reduce expenses, increase net profits, and grow organically. And that kind of reminds me of like a topic that I want to discuss is like for you, Forrest, if you were to do it all over again, which I know we wouldn't do, but let's say you're talking to your younger self, like what would you do to cut expenses now knowing what you know now? Like what are some of the actual items that you would actually do?
The first place you want to start is on your cost of goods sold. So it's labor and materials. And part of it is also pricing, right? So if you're not charging enough, you can't cut your way to success. So just our main goal today is to hit a 50% gross margin. So whatever the materials and the labor is going to be, multiply that by 2, there's your price. So half the money is already gone just to get the job done, and then half is left to cover all your overhead. So like our back office people, the software, marketing, all that stuff is what's left up for that 50%. If you can get that down to 30 or anywhere from 20 to 30, then you have some actual profit left over. But if you're not hitting that 50% gross margin, you're out before you even started. There's no way to cut all the overhead. You can cut it to zero. It doesn't matter because there's nothing left.
Yeah. Gotcha. And then like as far as that cutting the expenses down, I would also refer to Noble because he made a great like a link, a connection, like a joint venture kind of situation with Lincoln. I mean, I'll let you speak to that, Noble, and like how we were able to leverage Lincoln to grow another side of the business. So yeah.
Yeah, so Lincoln, we actually reached out to him about buying his business, and he actually expressed interest in working with us. And he's actually he does a lot of estimations for us and estimates and everything like that for us. And I think it's been like a key component to some of our growth. Maybe Forrest, you can maybe talk about a little bit about how Lincoln has been integrated into what we're doing.
Yeah, it's been a little bit of a slow start because he's trying to finish out the projects that he had before. Yeah. So I wouldn't even say we've fully begun. He's done estimates for us before. We've closed a couple of deals, maybe 4 different projects with him. But we haven't fully integrated yet just because he's closing out deals that he was in progress on before we kind of came to our agreement. So supposedly yesterday he finished 2 of them. He's got 1 or 2 more left. And then next month we'll really be able to kick that off, which coincides actually with the other company that we brought in doing the same thing.
Yeah, like the 2 companies that we're actually in LOI due diligence on right now. I mean, we got those deals. Like it's been a 6-month process now these days. I think with one company, and we am going through brokers on that. One's an SBA deal, and then the other is a seller finance deal. Both on the market, both through brokers, and that's part of our strategic plan to get to that $4 million price point in regards to the revenue portion is to acquire 2 more companies in the space. One does commercial maintenance and the other does residential maintenance on a very, very niched level. That's what they normally do. So that we're going to be looking for more companies to roll up here in the near future in the Atlanta area. So if anyone's watching this, if you guys have a deal, just make sure you reach out to Noble or myself and we'll take care of you. I don't think I have anything else to talk about. I mean, that's one of the great learning lessons that we have for 2024 and what we're looking to do this year. Do you guys have any final remarks or anything that you want to relay to, a person that's trying to get into the space or looking to get some type of business like ours? I'll let Forrest you speak first.
Yeah, I mean, I would say go for it. You're gonna make mistakes along the way. Yeah. A lot of times, I mean, I see people in some of these courses push hey, you got to get for the bigger deals because they're more profitable. And I would say yes, but know what you're doing before you get into it. So that's why I'm glad that we did these small deals and learn some of these painful lessons at the scale they were, because if you added a 0 to some of these issues, then it would have put us under. So, it's like having a starter home, a fix and flip, like Phil, very well,
Yeah.
before you try to, become a property development company on beachfront property. Like,
Yeah.
know how to do it at the basic levels before you scale up to the big leagues.
Yeah, that's like the way to put it, Forrest. What you got? Anything for on your side, Noble?
Yeah, I mean, look for great partnerships. I mean, I'm blessed and lucky to have we're Bill and I are blessed and lucky to have a partner like Forrest.
Yeah.
You know, and strategic partners that you can add on to the business, like a Lincoln and different things like that. And always looking for opportunity. Try to stay flexible, and each situation is unique, and staying adaptable is a critical approach. I've learned.
That is our yearly conversation in regards to our business. If you guys want to learn how we end up acquiring the business without any money out of our pocket, make sure you check out the video right here. And best of luck to you.